Sheila here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Jupiter, our Saturn day. And Jupiter is in the 7th house, 21 degrees Cancer, Moon 12 degrees Virgo, applying to conjunct Ketu. So, and the midheaven ruled by Mars. This is going to be a little bit of an energy reading, and it might be very, very useful for people that either seek like going to a tarot or a channeler or even an astrologer, or have such businesses. Have businesses that have the consultation of people. So I've been receiving a lot about Mkoften, and the energy is that I saw had to do with a certain sex cult, but it works in a very interesting way. Um, an omen to pay attention to when it comes to discernment is so. Um, Under no circumstances will a person in any type of consultation or healing discussion be told something like watch what you wish for. This is something that I ran into in regards to particular sex cults, and it works like that. Um, the person let's say you are the reader. So if you would be the reader, you might find that suddenly you receive a positive healing message, but you would have suddenly that sentence coming in. And this is where you need to tap into your personal power and um, attune, attune the vessel, because there's always an amount of permeability when we channel. Um, and again, I'm just as I'm giving energy reading, so this is relevant for all of us. And if you receive, then pay attention to things like that. Suddenly, there's a beautiful, beautiful message. Suddenly, something like, you need to watch what you wish for. Or some things that are oddly specific, like specific to a fault, um, may denote that there is some sort of astral espionage going on, or BCI, which is spying through eyeballs. Um, Now, the way this is associated with sex cults and trafficking cults is such: person would basically be attacked and then would receive healing. And this, both the attack and the healing, would be, um, yes, was surprising, exhausting, and so on. And then as the healing arrives, um, there would be an attempt to suddenly eroticize or sexualize a situation. So let's say you're a lady watching this. It could come from a lady that could actually be well-meaning, okay, and that is important. Um, where the warning, like "watch what you wish for" or something like that, could appear at a reading or any other context, and then suddenly receiving positive energy or healing energy, which is fantastic. And that is, receiving healing energy is actually normal. A lot of people are doing meditations, sending energy to the collective, sending healing energies to the collective. Fantastic, nothing wrong with that. Then, as the person that is sending the energy, this is usually people that are very embodied in what they do. So it actually is people that um, kind of would give their everything to what they do. Because this can be very talented people that could be great performers, um, people that are actually very professional. And this is what people don't get about that, because the energy of almost being in a flow state is actually what, when a person has undergone trauma, is actually what is being used for that. Okay, you can think about, I don't know, your favorite musician giving a performance, live, body, heart, mind, and soul. They're channeling. And in that moment, they completely give into whatever arises. And this is an ecstatic thing that is actually a normal part of um, a creator's life. Okay, think about people that birth things. At the same time, this is something that those that attack the light are really honing on. So in that position, the previous trauma may be associated with um, either conscious or unconscious erotic rapport with a person who would serve as the dominant figure, okay, the puppeteer, or even the handler. And that would look like an embrace of love with control. And again, under safe, sane, and consensual kinky settings, those things can actually be um, normal and sex positive and everything. Okay, so this is not bashing in anybody's kink, not at all. Um, that being said, when it is done under the radar or a person receiving healing after, let's say, being violated and so on, and then there is an erotization of the presence to supposedly be one of the girls together with the leading girl or one of the boys together with the leading boy. It is done on boys, okay? The dealer, for example, trafficked boys as well. And there would be an insertion of control into a loving environment that some people can eroticize, and in that way, they might be erotically recruited and conditioned to believe that now they have to be sexually obedient to receive healing, um, and if they're not into that kink, um, okay, then they might fear to lose the healing that they received after being, under spiritual attack. This is how sex trafficking cults work. Okay, and so again, the more a person has gone through trauma, um, and the more shame people have around their sexuality, the more they can eroticize something that is actually not safe, sane, and consensual, um, and therefore, um, okay, there is and notice the nuance in what I said. Okay, it's not a person that watched an OnlyFans. It's not something that comes from. Okay, it's not a dominant man trying to subdue a person. No, they are attempting to get a psychosexual mind control, Bilderberg and Belsen, skulls and bones. And I talked about that as a Chiron wound of the Bilderbergers. It's not only the Bilderbergers. Um, those who are erotically attuned can see that even in certain parliaments, um, or the erotic rapport that is imbued with mind control that's happening. And sometimes this is, first of all, let me state something, that under kinky settings that are safe, sane, and consensual, where each and every one of the partners is able to um, withdraw back to their sovereignty at any time, okay, that can be an erotic dance that is actually sexy and fun for some people and perfectly fine. It's the nuance where people are supposed to be, um, how should I say that, mind controlled, puppeteer, psychologically controlled, without ever having a discussion where they and the skills to opt out at each and every segment. Now, when you think about the fact that leaders are doing that, yeah, I mean, that's sexual sovereignty and sovereignty. I've been talking about that a lot. Um, and yeah, it's connected to the skulls and bones as well, to the deep state. A lot of Americans uh, very likely ran into that and know that. Um, and this is, again, what's important, that if you run into that, first of all, if you are a channeler, tarot reader, or whatnot, um, that is an invitation to look deeper into um, safe, sane, and consensual, and understand that, and abundance, because think about it as there is an abundance of sexual pleasure. There is an abundance of opportunities to explore, whether it's kink or whether it's, there's an abundance of ways to decide for oneself what one agrees with, one not. Um, and there is an abundance of people dealing with those very trauma bond or erotic based trauma bonds, um, and sex cults, and going to the nitty gritty of, it's not a direct assault, nobody kidnapped anybody or anything like that, but it is in those nuances that when one eroticizes them, they begin to have a lack of discernment. And what would happen is that, let's say you're a reader, energy reader, okay? What would happen is that the collective that you're reading for is basically might interpret it as they have to unsubscribe to you, to unsubscribe to the reality that you now supposedly supposed to be a part of the timeline of. Notice how I do not accept those definitions. And this is actually done to make your channel a vehicle for recruitment of people to a sex trafficking cult. Um, where you might not be, for example, a lot of people have a double, people are working, maybe some people are working as a stripper and then as a reader, and okay, that's absolutely not against anything sex positive, but again, the nuance is important. And um, and now what would be created is that this is an attempt. Let's say you are a reader, whether you have maybe even a person that has maybe a sex job, and a reader, and you're in the grooming phase of being treated well in the trafficking ring or whatever it is, and it looks like a normal sex job that is, I don't know, whatever people do, OnlyFans or whatnot. And you have another vehicle or content vehicle. I know, first of all, it's many people had OnlyFans channel. So whether they have or had, um, they're trying to get me to have an OnlyFans, and it always is masqueraded as like this is art or this is this or all kinds of things that I'm like, okay, I did not. If I choose to do something, then I need the full sovereignty, um, and it's not something that I concentrate on beyond exploring my own pleasure. Um, and so, yes, and it can actually target a lot of sex positive people because they're going to present themselves as sex positive to begin with. And then what happens is that when you have your other job, they would try to recruit people to the trafficking. And it would be like, let's say you're a reader, your collective will have to unsubscribe to not be targeted by that cult, which basically can block a venue of income that can allow you, that is a part of the sexual sovereignty. So let's say even if a person has, I don't know, erotics job or whatnot, then having the opportunity to have another vehicle of income is actually important. So that if, let's say, tomorrow they don't want to do sex job or sex work or whatnot, then they can do whatever other job that they are doing and not depend on the income from whether it's the OnlyFans or not. Okay, the ability to say no, to have safe, sane, and consensual. Okay. Um, okay, so I absolutely accept the fact that people that escape satanic ritual abuse or trafficking rings may sometimes work in sex work to try to become more sovereign and set a boundary and so on. So this is not me, how should I say, being all black and white. It's basically important that it's supposed to work in a way that grants you more and more sovereignty, sexual sovereignty, viable income independent of having to do one or another job, which is important for sex positivity also for people that do sex work. Um, and the use of these nuances is basically deterring the people or the collective. So first it would be done in a way that you'll be drawn to channel for a collective that they're trying to traffic, and and basically it's going to be like it's a question of discernment. Like the people that don't want to be trafficked needs to stay away from your channel, given I don't know energy reading. Okay, and that I think is beyond unethical. It is downright trafficking. It is trying to jail people that do a job that is outside of sex work, and trying to force them to make an income only of sex work and keep away all the clients. And this is also for people that found themselves or subscribed or were a part of a collective. Um, okay, then this is something we need to have an open discussion. A lot of they're also asked to give the supposed dom. It's a fake dom, but it's the supposed dom. Their income, even if they do job outside of. And so I don't say that I know all the answers, but I do want to address that because we definitely don't want to isolate further people that are already in being trafficked positions. We also don't want to be in a position where the income is trafficked to the trafficker, and definitely not where the healing is dependent of compliance with a sex trafficking code. So this is, by the way, a part of Mkoften, and um, and that can also happen in the sense of if there are people who are, let's say, doms, and sometimes it's wish somebody would be, uh, um, there would be a dominant, and there would be, not in all cases it's submissive, so whatever people call that, um, and that supposed submissive will have other people that they are dominant over. So it can be kind of like the dominant is giving their body, mind, heart, and soul to the scene, and they can be funneled or mind controlled just because they're okay. So, and this is what I want to emphasize here. It's not necessarily coming from like evil people or people that have it in their mind to control people. It can be very nuanced. It can be very sudden as well. Now Venus is squaring Uranus, which can give us something suddenly happened. Um, and even the most self-aware people of like, hey, they're enjoying to have that much control over somebody else while providing the healing, and the person becomes or rests their soul in the hands of the healer, and then that can be eroticized. And while I'm absolutely not against safe, sane, and consensual forms of eroticism, this nuance is really important, and um, and it invites us to perhaps okay remember the discernment also during eroticism, and understand that the flow state is something that is achieved with tremendous amount of praxis, both outside of bed and inside of bed. Okay, it took me several years before I was able to open mic, open chart, look at chart, record, close mic. Okay, that flow state is something that, and if you can watch my Spirit of Matter channel, um, during COVID, there were a lot of channelings where you could see that I'm only beginning to discern the energies, and it was the beginning of the channeling experiment. And even now, there are many energies that try to intervene, and so on and so forth. So this is absolutely not coming from a usurped place or from an ego place, simply awareness. And that can happen also to people that are playing the dom in the situation, um, whether they're fully aware and do it because of whatever traumas, or they try to see, well, the person who has a choice, whether they this or whether they that. Informed consent is informed consent in spirit and in matter. Okay? If a person has been put in tremendously torturous situation and somebody heals them and then takes it to an eroticized place, first of all, however humane that can be, the option for the person to opt out has to be there. And also, it can be for people even triggering and creepy. That depends, yes, on the person. Um, Taking into account that, yes, practitioners are now dealing with Mkoften and dealing with spiritual warfare, and a lot of people genuinely are coming to assist, to support, to send good energy, and that's amazing. And definitely in the surrendering after a long battle, there is a point of relaxation and eroticism that can happen, and there can be compatibility and not compatibility. And absolutely, it's not a regular zone where we have people going to therapy and the ethics of therapy. Um, so again, zero shame, zero blame, only awareness, and that allows us for more choice and knowing love that is actually loving. Okay, power dynamics and even um, people that practice mind control as a safe, sane, and consensual power dynamic. I absolutely know that in the kinky community there are people that do that. People exploring edges, amazing, fantastic, as usual, safe, sane, and consensual. Um, Definitely, when it comes to new people that are not on that line of acquaintance, okay, those things usually are discussed between people. I really recommend Evie Lupine's channel for people who have kinky inclination. She's fantastic about both exposing the abuse of kink to do trafficking under the guise of kink. Um, Very, very, and she's going all the way to the nitty gritties of what would be considered consensual. Whereas the problem with the okay, a lot of the topics that are difficult to discuss. In fact, when I was going to a psychologist, and don't ask how I know he was kinky. um, then watching the content of Evie Lupine was a great point of discernment, because I could eventually see that the difference between safe, sane, and consensual, and whatever was attempt to do there. While I'm fully vanilla, by the way. So, okay, that is, it is. Yeah, it was like, okay, me trying to refine what I like, what I being bodied and so on, one could absolutely say that they healed a lot in spite of therapy. But of course, I also had the need to be desired, to be loved, and it plays on those needs. And I do have Pluto involved with, yes, in a Mars sign. So that was definitely something that I authentically look at, as well as understanding that the guy was full blown MK Ultra, fractured and everything. And I remember asking it, they say, I sense energy of United States from you. Are you American? It says no. So very likely it was Mkoften and MK Ultra. And yet personalities that tried to warn me and did even talk to me about ritual abuse, um, which to begin with I found at first when I was asking or channeling, I would look at a certain book and the author was like, this is a pedophile. Then another, this is a pedophile. Then another, this is a pedophile. I'm like, what are all of them? Okay, it doesn't make sense in the beginning. Yeah, and then this is where they made rituals. This is where they made rituals. Now you see the gloves that people drop, but back then we didn't see the gloves. And then it's like, somebody gives you that information, and it's kind of like, okay, you don't know if it's real, it's not, what's going on, and that's a person that threatened your life, and okay, um, and this is something that happened around 2019. Um, and again, some of it was correct information, some of it was noise as usual, because they also, when somebody begins to give correct information, they would have other personalities that are supposed to throw in confusion. Um, and yes, it's not just about power, the throwing of confusion, it's also about attempt to protect oneself from those that harm people to that extent. So yeah, so this is where people could be even, psychologists. For some people, I talked about readings, but it could be even psychologists. Um, and if that happened to you, or if you try to seek therapy and that happened to you, um, know that you're absolutely not imagining. Learn about satanic ritual abuse. Learn about MK Ultra. Learn about MK Often. Understand that the person who was listen to Alandra. Listen to Alandra. That can be amazing to understand. Okay, what? And when you hear testimonies and people suddenly laugh in weird places, it is trauma response. So I know it's very weird. It can look like they're sociopaths. They're not. They're basically having a trauma response to a situation that the soul can't contain, and laughter is one of the things that are releasing. So they could be laughing at really obscene scenes, and it's not because they're sociopaths. By the way, this is also how they build the people. Okay. Um, and when you learn that how much effort is dedicated to make a person monstrous, you both have retrieved faith in humanity and and being at not how for how for the fact that people would go all that length to invest all that much energy, basically to enslave humanity. So um, that's something that is showing up for people, and as usual, naturally, I will not, me consciously, will not arrive at your place, will definitely not. I don't do astral spying or actually, I don't even do astral projection. Okay. Um, and third parties are probably handlers and traffickers that try to do those things, okay, whether to me or to people who listen to my videos. So yes, so we'll probably not reach out to anyone. Um, and even if I would send positive energy to the collective, it would usually be me recording myself sending positive energy and putting that online so that people can watch that if there is a energy. Um, then again, discernment is, yes, is important. Um, yeah, so this is another thing to be aware of. Um, and pay attention to that. Okay, pay attention to that. And of course, if a vibe or an energy doesn't feel right to someone, it's important to step away. And if they do choose to give it another chance, um, then exposing the experience. And again, it doesn't have to be with names or anything like that, because we're not bashing or shaming. We're just holding discernment and keeping those trafficking codes from operating in the place where it's nuanced, it's this, it's that. No, it's in the light, it's discussed. If people have kinky inclinations, again, Evie Lupine is a great source for people that want to get more educated. It's not about, okay, we're not ashamed of sexuality here, but we're also not supporting abuse of our natural, creative, sensual self into positions and rituals that are of the energy harvesting type and are trafficking.